Such affectionate acceptance.
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
They were big. They were hitting hard too, man.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Broaden the areas of participation for women.
That sounds very stylish.
What is my problem?
What do you think?
Beat sitting home watching television?
Hello, everybody. How is it going? Let's see, what is it, Tuesday? God, the days go by so quickly. And I'm looking out my window and it's already dark. This time of the year is just, so depressing. I'm not used to it being dark at 5 p.m. my time, but c'est la vie, such is life. We do have a good treat here, so hopefully this will cheer me up a little bit. We have the legendary Mike Baron, known for his great Punisher series with Marvel and The Badger, Nexus, pretty much like you name a genre, and Mr. Baron has probably worked on it in some form or fashion. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some people trickling in here soon. Remember, early to bed, early to rise, I think, is Mr. Baron's motto. So we want to make sure that we keep him here for a reasonable amount of time. So without further ado, let me see, what can I bring him in with? I think I'm just looking for something appropriate, a little book related, I guess. Although this kind of reminds me of Mike Baron a little bit. So yeah, let's go with this one.
You maniac! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
You just seem like you would really appreciate a good Charlton Heston.
I do, and it's funny that you choose that scene because when I talk about writing, I always say that the perfect ending comes as both a complete surprise and, in retrospect, inevitable. And I point to that scene as an example.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I think we're just all heading to that direction. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe the apes will do a better job than we've been doing.
Hope so.
Far. Oh, God. Yeah, I rewatched that. I guess maybe it's been about 5-6 months ago. And it holds up surprisingly well. I mean, you know, some of the effects are dated, obviously, by this point. But yeah, something about it just feels more real than a lot of the CG stuff that they want to throw out there today that just, it seems so hollow and fake. But yeah, I don't know. You got to love the classics. They're classic for a reason.
I just rewatched The Godfather for probably the 8th time.
It's the first two are just a masterpiece. We won't mention the third one. I like to pretend it doesn't exist. It's like blasphemous. What were they thinking? And with the daughter in there, she was just not a good fit. I don't know. Sometimes you got to rein in the artist a little bit, you know, just put the reins on them. We do have some people here. They're really happy to see you. We have, let's see, Crazy Cat. Hello. He says when he thinks of you, he thinks of cheer. So sunshine.
Thanks, Cat.
Katie Dids Chittle. Hey, girl, how you doing? Woo! Katie's awesome. She has her clip channel, and she likes to do her own brand of detracting. And you step out of line and she will definitely let you know it. So always love Katie Did. And she's a big supporter of Comicsgate and all of the projects out there. So love what you do, girl. We have Mo Biggs. Mo, how you doing? Haven't seen you for a while. Great to see you. Lux Disaster. I love that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Let's see. We got Fritzy Schnitzel. I like that. I like that name. It's kind of fun to say. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it is fun to say. So anyway, Mike, we are here. We are going to be discussing your Sherlock Holmes story. You are probably one of the most prolific writers that I have had the pleasure to get to chat with. It seems like that there really isn't a subject, a topic, a genre that you won't try to tackle, to dabble in. And I really respect that. It seems like you were born to write, and you love writing. And I had a few little questions here that I wanted to ask you. Let me bring up this, share my screen so we can get an idea of what your latest campaign is about here. And let's see, I'm going to bring it up here on. I'm going to do Indiegogo first, and then we'll point out on Kickstarter. You have a nice little bragging right there on Kickstarter. So let's bring this here.
Very surprising.
Okay, so this is Sherlock Holmes Leviathan. When I heard that you were doing a new story, Sherlock Holmes and Nemo, Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I was like, wow, that's like an interesting pairing. My exposure to Sherlock Holmes is the old series, not the original one. I think there was a Rathbone.
Basil Rathbone.
Yes, thank you, Basil Rathbone. That was my dad. He liked watching that, but I liked the 80s one, 80s, early 90s, Jeremy Brett. I loved Jeremy Brett. For me, that was the the definitive Sherlock Holmes.
Me too.
And he played it. He was so calculated, and he seemed icy, but you could always tell, behind his actions that he cared for people, but he was just so stoic and never really showed any emotion. And then I believe you're in your story, you're dealing with Eileen, or was it Irene Adler?
Irene Adler.
And that was the only person really to get one over on him, and he would always refer to her as, I guess, that woman. He had reverence for her and kind of respect for her. But yeah, that when I saw that, I immediately thought of Jeremy Brett. So tell us a little bit about Sherlock Holmes Leviathan.
Before I get into that, a lot of modern readers agree that Sherlock Holmes suffered from Asperger's syndrome,
Really?
which made him very poor at interpersonal relations. And he had to overcome that through force of will. And that's how Jeremy Brett played him.
Mm-hmm.
And Brett was the only actor to show the difference between his... The hounds!
Release the hounds!
The lassitude of Holmes when he didn't have a case, as opposed to his fierce focus when he did have a case.
Mm-hmm.
As for my wide variety of subject matter, it's often because I ask the artist what he wants to draw.
Really?
But in the case of Sherlock Holmes, I had always wanted to do a Sherlock Holmes story. And then one day it just came to me. If you think about it, inspiration can come from anywhere. And Sherlock Holmes is his own source of inspiration because he comes with a great body of work in which the protocols are laid out. And there are some things that are non-negotiable, such as the acknowledgement of class differences in the 19th century. But then one day it just hit me. What if Sherlock Holmes and Captain Nemo were to join forces to stop a madman from plunging the world into war? And just, man, there it was.
Yeah.
So I started writing, and I was able to do this because Nemo and Holmes are both 19th century Victorian figures. Nemo predated Holmes by a little bit, but their lives overlapped. Their fictional lives overlapped. They're both alive at the same time. And so that works. It's not a new idea. Alan Moore did it in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And Philip Jose Farmer did it in the Wold Newton universe, where he drew Tarzan, Dog Savage, Alan Quatermain, and many other 19th century characters together in his writing. Philip Jose Farmer is a great writer and a big influence on me. As far as Sherlock Holmes and Captain Nemo, though, the idea came to me, and it all fit together like a crossword puzzle,
Yeah.
and it
I see.
starts.
I would think it would be difficult because, Sherlock Holmes is, the a great detective, and he just has a keen eye. And I know that new Sherlock series with Benedict Cumberbatch, they tried to show a little bit, they visualized or tried to visualize, how his mind kind of worked a little bit differently. And it's got to be hard. Do you work backwards? When you're trying to write a story for Sherlock Holmes, like you've already solved the puzzle, and then you're just trying to figure out how to go back and actually make the mystery. It
In a
just,
sense, I have the structure of the story in my mind, but the structure is often the same for any story I do, which is story is a dynamic narrative with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And by dynamic, I mean that the hero's fortunes are often in question. Nothing is certain. He could die at any time. So he's up, he's down, he's up, he's down.
mm.
And it ends, in my books, with a triumph snatched from the jaws of defeat. But I don't know the exact shape of that triumph until I work my way there by going through the narrative step by step. What happens is you set a scene, and it sets the tone for the next scene. Uh, and you never know where it's going to lead you. When
Yeah.
you start doing research on things, be prepared to change your story, because research will show you things that dovetail with your goal of good storytelling. Um, and any writer who is good at his craft knows that once you create a compelling character, that he's going to turn around at some point and tell you what he's going to do next. I didn't create Sherlock Holmes; I just borrowed him. But sure enough, once you invest yourself fully in his personality, he's going to do certain things that you didn't initially think of. But that's what Holmes would do.
Yeah. I always like the he struggled, and as you kind of touched on earlier, when he wasn't working a case, he would suffer, depression and kind of the doldrums. And when he got to actually challenge his mind, when there was a case, that's when he really strived. But it was interesting how, that Conan Doyle would show that with the Sherlock Holmes character, and how he even struggled with, addiction. Like he would
Well,
go to
that's a theme.
opium.
That's a theme throughout the story.
Yeah.
Can you play the video?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and go over here. Here, I'm going to make sure it's in Big End. Go rid of that. And let me know if there's any audio issues, but I'm going to go ahead and hit play.
When a series of shipping disasters points to a mysterious sea monster, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson leave the comfort of Baker Street and board a freighter where they encounter unexpected betrayal and come face to face with the enigmatic Captain Nemo and his submarine, the Nautilus. As they delve deeper into the case, they uncover a conspiracy involving a Russian Tsar with an airship that rains destruction on unsuspecting cities. With time running out and the world on the brink of war, the heroes must use all their skills and resources to stop a massive conspiracy and prevent global conflict. From Eisner-winning writer Mike Barron and illustrator Richard Bonk, dive into the depths of adventure and unravel the mysteries of the sea with the world's greatest detective in Leviathan. Order now on Indiegogo.
That is just a great trailer. I love that trailer. Who made that for you?
Chris Brawley.
It is great. I love, and this is just a little kind of tip to some of the other comic book creators out there. I like, it's neat when you make kind of a music video trailer and you have the cool loud music and all that kind of stuff. But it's hard because, when as a potential backer of campaigns, if I don't really know what the story is about, the trailer can kind of just go over our heads. But this is great. It captures, it gives you an idea of what the story's about. You have the characters there. You still have the, kind of exciting music playing. And I love how they took the actual artwork from within the story, and found a way to kind of animate that a little bit. Just really good stuff, top quality there.
Chris is a professional videographer. He runs all my campaigns. He's also the guy behind Bleeding Fool.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would not be doing this today. I would not achieve the success I have without Chris.
Well, please, if you have a chance to tell him, please let him know that I really, really enjoyed that trailer. I think more people would benefit from following that example. So yeah, do you want to briefly, I know we kind of had a little bit of an overview in the trailer, but would you mind kind of briefly again giving your, I guess, pitch for the story?
Well, it starts when a wealthy shipping magnate comes to Holmes and says, "Mr. Holmes, my last 2 ships have disappeared without a trace. I would like to hire you to find out what happened to them." And Holmes says, "Well, I'm not fond of the sea. I'm not fond of the sea." But the shipping magnate says, "I will give you a Stradivarius violin if you'll take this case." So Holmes agrees.
Oh, yeah.
And the second ship that disappeared without a trace, there was one survivor, and he had been clinging to the bottom hull of what is the boats? What an escape boat for a week when they found him.
Jeez.
And he was just wailing that the creature, and he was in an insane asylum when Holmes and Watson visit him to find out what he saw, and he's half mad. He's still crazy when he's talking about it. So Holmes does not have a clue yet, but he agrees to board the magnate's freighter that's leaving from Liverpool and is headed to St. Petersburg by way of Sweden with a shipment of molybdenum, which is mined in Argentina. It was used in all sorts of things back then, but it was also used to build nuclear bombs in the present age. And very few people knew that if you read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Nemo says that the boat is electrically powered and it has a source that will last it for years. And he's hinting at nuclear power. I don't know how Jules Verne intuited that, but he did. And
makes you wonder if he didn't really have like a time machine or something, It's just crazy.
That was H.G. Wells.
Yeah, but it's just, oh my God, it's just crazy what these minds back then came up with. I don't know, maybe they did the equivalent of ayahuasca or something back then and opened up a new, portal of reality and glimpsed the future. Who knows?
Well, it's amazing how prescient many of those writers were.
Yeah. Let's see. So we go through a little bit there. I see a syringe on the table there.
Yeah.
We're hinting a little bit at his heroin use.
It was cocaine.
Cocaine. That's right. He ejected cocaine, but he went to the opium dens too. At least that's what they had him do in the show. He would go there.
I have no doubt that's perfectly acceptable. And of course, there's a famous book and movie called The 7% Solution, in which Holmes, brilliantly played by Nicole Williamson, teams up with Sigmund Freud to solve a mystery. Because Holmes, first of all, goes to Freud at Watson's insistence. I think Watson is played by Robert Duvall. And he says, "Holmes, I insist that you see the greatest mind physician of our time so he can talk to you about your addiction." And that's how they meet and how they get involved in this case.
I could only imagine the conversations that they would have. It's just way over my head for sure.
Have you seen The 7% Solution?
I have not.
Well, then you can see that conversation. You'll enjoy it.
7% Solution. Is that a newer movie, older movie?
What?
Is it a newer movie, older movie?
It's at least 30 years old.
Okay, yeah, it looks like from 1976. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. All right, well, that's another recommendation, another Baron recommendation.
I got a million of them.
I got several of your Westerns. I really appreciated that. So that was nice. So yeah, the artwork here by Richard Bonk, it's just really good. And the coloring and everything on it is just terrific. It almost like feels like I'm watching one of the old movies or something, but just, animated form.
Richard had been waiting his whole life to do steampunk. He just didn't know it. And when we get to the Nautilus, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a glimpse of it in the video.
Yeah,
In,
the little
in
bit
the
of the ship and everything. Is
and
it
the
this is
scenes in
the
St. Petersburg.
Yeah, that's great stuff there. Um, so I was going to ask you too, a little bit, about your writing. At this point, have you even kept track how many different tales that you've crafted since you've been a writer? Like hundreds?
I have to.
Let's see. What do you remember the first story that really, I guess, sparked your imagination and got you thinking like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I
Absolutely.
would love to do for a living. What
Yep.
can you tell us about that a little bit?
It was a Travis McGee novel by John D. MacDonald, which I bought at a cigar store for something like 35 cents. And while I was standing there on the sidewalk in Mitchell, South Dakota, looking at this book, I thought to myself, well, this guy's not writing this for his health. He must be doing it for a living. That's what I want to do. So the seed was planted at my early age that I wanted to be a writer. And I started writing in college. I went to school in Madison, Wisconsin. I had a friend who ran an underground newspaper, which is a newspaper that was against the man, up against the wall, and sticking it to the man. And I went over there one day, and he lived in a shack by the tracks, and there were hundreds of brand new LPs leaning against the wall, still sealed in plastic. I said, Mark, where'd you get all these records? And he says, oh, the record companies send it to us. You want some? Take them. Just write something about them.
Wow.
So I loaded up my arms. I staggered home. I started listening, and I wrote something about him for the Daily Cardinal, which was the University of Wisconsin paper. And I found that if I wrote about music, I could get free records, and I'm still doing it.
That's great. Yeah, I like something that you enjoy doing anyway, but then if you can get like a little perk from it, that's even better. Do you have a particular genre that you prefer over any of the other genres?
I love rhythm and blues, power pop, and jazz.
Hmm. How about in terms of your writing when you're doing a story? Do you prefer, action stories? Do you prefer drama,
Well,
mixture,
I do.
Western? Or...
I do write. I write three kinds of novels. One is a hard-boiled crime noir, modern noir, and that's my biker series, starring Josh Pratt, reformed motorcycle hoodlum who went to prison, and he found God in prison. And when he gets out, being pardoned by the governor, uh, he tries to turn his life around. And the stories are grim, gritty, and often violent, but
Mhm.
there are always flashes of humor in everything I write, and they've been very well received. There are 10 biker novels out now. They're all on Amazon. If you just go to Amazon, type Mike Barron, all my stuff will come up. I'm working on the 11th now, but I'm working on two other novels at the same
Wow.
time. I'm writing more now than I ever have in my life. I have a friend who's forcing me to write faster and faster.
Oh my gosh. How do you keep all the stories, I guess
I
together
think
in your
that
mind?
the more projects you work on, the easier it is,
Mm.
because you're constantly sparking ideas, and people say, well, what about writer's block? There's no such thing if you're a professional writer. But one of the things that helps me avoid writer's block is working on multiple stories at the same time. Because if I run into a wall someplace, I'll just switch to something else.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you, for you, I mean, like what, I'm sure there are, fundamentals and everything, but for you, what's your process or what makes a good story? What foundation makes a good story in your book?
Boy, there are a million ways to grab the reader, uh, but the first three are: number one, an unforgettable character.
Hmm.
And Sherlock Holmes is the very model.
Yeah.
And number two is an unforgettable and intriguing situation, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
We all want to know what happens when man interacts with dinosaurs. And number three is a seductive narrative voice. Now, that's harder to do in a comic book than it is in a straight novel, but it is possible. And there are many writers who have instantly identifiable voices. Stan Lee was one of them. I try not to have an identifiable voice. I want my characters to ring true. I try to
Mm.
have them talk the way real people talk, uh, and that's part of my three rules of writing. And the first rule is it's my job to entertain, and I never lose sight of that fact. I'm not here to deliver a message, as
As so many
Louis
often do these
as,
days.
as Louis Mayer said, if you want to send a message, go to Western Union.
Oh
And that
god.
doesn't mean you can't have a story with a powerful social message. I always point to Kill a Mockingbird and The Grapes
Mm,
of Wrath, which are two very powerful novels, and were turned into two very powerful movies. And the reason they are classics and we watch them over and over again is, first of all, they're highly entertaining. We care about those characters. You
right.
have to care about the character, uh, and and secondly, the message is part of the situation, because they think, I'm sure that Harper Lee thought about racism in the Deep South
Right.
and the unfairness of the justice system. And so she wrote that story. Um, and The Grapes of Wrath was, who wrote that?
Steinbeck?
Joanna Steinbeck, yes. Uh, he wrote that at the height of the Great Depression, when millions of Americans were being forced off their land by a combination of big banks and unprecedented drought. And it's how they headed to California in hopes of a better life. And when they got there, they were
Yeah,
just exploited some more.
that was brutal. Um, before I have like another question here for you, but just saw this over there. NZ guy, New Zealand guy or NZ guy? He says, "Are you happy with your work, or are you not there yet?"
I'm pretty happy with my work, and I have been for the past 15 years. A lot of stuff before that I wasn't quite happy with,
Hmm.
but now I'm very happy, and I think I'm getting better as a writer, and that's one of the things that keeps me going. Uh, what I figured out is once you understand story, what it is, you don't make a wrong turn. Uh, if you don't know what happens next, you turn to another project, and whatever happens next will come to you. Uh, but understanding story is the key. What is story? It's a million things. I outlined three of them before: character, situation, and narrative voice. But there are so many other things that you could do. I mean, people read the classics, like the Russian classics, like Dostoevsky,
Mm,
because they want to know what life was like back then. And
yeah.
Dostoevsky wrote Crime and Punishment, which is an unforgettable novel, uh, and he wrote it on based on what he saw, and so did the other great Russian novelists.
Why do you think it people struggle today? I guess the mainstream, I should say, they struggle to craft a good story today. Obviously, their message seems to get in the way. But if you were going to, obviously, we don't want to help like the SJWs, with their schemes and everything. But if you were going to offer them a piece of advice, other than maybe develop a new way of thinking, how would you tell them to craft their stories in a way like, if you really want to get your message across here, you need to do this?
My three rules. Number one is it's your job to entertain.
Yeah.
Never lose sight of that fact. And that's the problem with so many entertainments that are failing today, is that they're not there to entertain. They're there to lecture and put people in their place or something. And the actual story disappears, or it's fragmented, or it's poorly done, because the people who are writing this material don't understand story. Number two, show, don't tell.
Mhm.
Uh, and that's important. It's just as important as in pure prose as it is in a visual medium. I loved Better Call Saul, one of my favorite series, and it would often begin with a 5-minute wordless sequence uh, where the camera is just following someone like Mike Ehrmantraut as he sneaks into a big industrial plant, and he breaks into the locker room and steals a guy's ID. And then he sneaks out, he jumps the fence, whatever. And then he comes up in a bus with the other workers, and he shows the guy the stolen ID, and he waves him right into the plant, which was the goal the whole
Mhm.
time. And you watch that and you say, huh? Oh, I see. And it's very clever. And they did that in many of the episodes. Would begin with a 5-minute wordless sequence, which is how you do it. It's show don't tell.
Right.
And number three, my third rule is be original. They say write what you know, and that's true up to a point. But it's the writer's job to imagine the point of view of every character that he's writing about. And if you can't imagine it fully, you're never going to be a first-class writer. Like William Shakespeare, who wrote Othello about a black prince, or William Styron, who wrote The Confessions of Nat Turner about a black slave during the Civil War.
So maybe that's why they really struggle, is because it's hard for them to, look from our perspective, empathize with our perspective, because it's been demonized so much that, they just refuse to see things from our perspective. So that would make sense why that they would have a hard time crafting a good story.
There was a great British writer named John Brain, whose most famous novel was Room at the Top, but he also wrote a book called Writing Your Novel. And in it, he says, no man should attempt to write a novel before he's 40 years old, because he simply doesn't have enough experience to describe the world convincingly and accurately.
It's kind of funny because I read like these fantasy books years ago by a young author. I think he was 15 when he started his first book.
There are always exceptions.
Yeah, Christopher Polini, I think that's how you pronounce it. But he did the Inheritance saga, which is about Aragon, the dragons, and all that. And he crafted this whole world and a whole slew of characters. They tried to make a movie of it, and it was just god awful. But just this young kid. When I found out how old he was, or how young he was, it was quite shocking. But yeah, another instance of you don't always have to have experienced everything to really get into the mind of a character. And thought that was kind of interesting.
Carson McCullers was 24 when she wrote The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. And William Styron was 26 when he wrote As I Lay Dying. So there are exceptions. There are people just naturally gifted. It took me a long time to learn how to write a novel, but that's because I'm a slow learner. But when I get it, I get it.
It just finally clicked. Yeah, I was just kind of watching movies lately, and there good ones are few and far between. I find myself going back and watching the classics. I have kind of enjoyed the really wacky stories that are coming from A24. I don't know if you've watched any of their films, but if you want something that is at least going to be original and perhaps raise an eyebrow a little bit, at least they will still take a chance on some really crazy ideas, where the mainstream studios just kind of, they just want to go with what's been popular, the sequels, the superhero stuff. But A24 is crazy. I just watched this movie with Hugh Grant, The Heretic, and in the movie it raises a lot of interesting questions about religion and their origins, and they're just used as a means of control. And it was all very interesting and fascinating. But even that, it just seems like a lot of stories these days, especially with movies, have a hard time summing up the ending. It's like the journey there is good, and then you get to the ending, and it's just, why does it seem like so many writers struggle with that ending?
I don't know, but there are good movies out there, and 3 that were released this past year that I could recommend are The Bike Riders.
That was good. I like that a lot.
Monkey Man and Ferrari.
Okay. I haven't seen the last 2. I do remember the trailers for it. Monkey Man, that was the Indian film?
Dev Patel.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have to check that out, because I think it's on one of the streaming services I have. It looked like it had some interesting action in it. Was it
the most astonishing scenes of hand-to-hand combat I've ever seen in a movie.
Wow. Have you ever seen The Raid?
Yeah,
that Indonesian film, that was really good. But yeah, that was the Monkey Man. Doesn't that deal with, I guess, class, kind of different class systems? And
it is very much about the class system in India.
Yeah, that's rough over there. It's really, again, that's one of the great things about our country. You can rise from, poverty and nothing and become great. And, still places in the world, you kind of are relegated to the station that you are born into, and it's almost impossible to rise above that.
Oh, hi, Justin. Gotta say
Oh,
hello to
there.
Mikhail.
Yeah. Justin Belmont, Smokes the Fox.
I wrote that.
Yes, I know. I liked that one a lot. It was very creative.
Wait till you see the next one.
Oh, when can we expect that?
Oh, I don't know. It's in the works. His artist disappeared off the face of the earth, so we need a new
Oh
artist.
God,
We'll
that
see.
temperamental folk artist. You dabbled in drawing a little bit, didn't you? And in
Oh
illustrating
yeah,
some of
I
your
do
stuff.
for years. And in fact, for 25 years, I wrote comics by drawing each page out by hand. I
Hmm.
draw the first panel and I'd say, what happens here? And I'd figure it out. And in the case of Nexus, it was what makes him compelling? What makes him dramatic? And I thought, well, what if somebody died every time he showed up? That's not a new insight. That's the reason that police, crime, legal, and medical and first responder shows have dominated our popular
Yeah.
culture for over half a century because they deal with life and death, and that's the stuff of drama. But I wanted to make Nexus a sympathetic character, so I made him an executioner, a reluctant executioner of mass murderers. And from there, it just ballooned and ballooned with my partner, Steve Rude, uh, who would often draw characters in the background that were so interesting, I would bring them forward and give them lines, and then they became major characters in the book. But that method of writing, I recommend it to anybody who wants to do comics, whether you can draw or not,
Hmm.
because it teaches you so many lessons. It teaches you how much weight can a page bear. And by that, I mean, how many pictures, how big are the pictures, how many words before they start crowding each other out. And of course, it varies from page to page because a comic book story has a pulse and a rhythm, just like a good pop song. Sometimes you have 6 panels per page and they're talking, and then the action occurs and it blows up into 2 or 3 panels. And every now and then you want to devote a full page to a single image. Uh, I don't like to do that for a couple of reasons. One is if you've seen one explosion, you've seen them all. And two, when you do that, the reader stops to admire the art, and he should. But then the story just stops there while you're admiring the art. Whereas if you put a little panel down at the bottom, just a little horizontal panel or even an insert panel, then the eye is drawn down and the story continues.
What are your thoughts on just a black page?
Give me a page that's just black.
Just black. Like say something intense happens and then you turn it.
No, no, it has no place. It has no place in a comic. If you want to do a black panel, that's okay. But the story has to continue. If you have a page that's nothing but black, the story stops dead there.
It was that was a choice in John Malin's Godlike. And it's just
No offense, John.
no, I mean everyone has their own the techniques and methods of doing things. I kind of respected it because it did make me stop. But I think that was the purpose. Like this monumental event happened to the character, and you just had to stop until the I don't want to give anything away for people who haven't seen it because it takes place towards the end of the book. But yeah, it gave me a moment to catch my breath. Then you turn the next page, and it was like, this is what's happening. But yeah, here we go. There's that I'm stirring the pot there, everybody. No black pages, John. Oh, but yeah, no, I think everyone has their own method of doing things. And that's what I like. I like seeing what the different creators come up with. And also too, you were talking about Nexus, interesting character. And I did receive an email talking about how you were taking the Nexus book and breaking it into 2, and it was going to be in comic shops.
That's right. It's going to be in comic shops next month.
That's pretty awesome. They have some artwork by Kelsey Shannon there.
This is the issue.
Here, let me embiggen you. I'm sorry. There we go. it's kind of reversed. The image is reversed, but
Right. Well,
you'll
you know,
have to imagine that it's.
wait. No, I can't reverse that. All right. But anyhow, Kelsey was born to draw this book. His work in here is just brilliant.
Mhm. Yeah, Kelsey's a good artist for
Oh,
sure.
he's terrific. He's working on another one.
Well, that's good to hear. I can't wait to get a sign up for that one. But talk about like Nexus and how he's kind of like I guess the unwilling executioner and everything. Um, I know your run of the Punisher is pretty legendary. And why do you think the Punisher really resonated with so many people? That what draws people to vigilantes, in your opinion?
America was settled by vigilantes.
That's a good point.
Wyatt
Yeah.
Earp was a vigilante.
Take your tea and we're gonna dump it into the harbor here.
Kit Carson was a vigilante, and he
Mhm.
looms large in our popular culture because this is a free society where people are not crushed under the nailed boot of government, uh, and when that happens, like in countries like Russia or China, people are afraid to express themselves. The popular culture is extremely limited. They would
Yeah.
love to burst free and say, "I hate this government. I hate these communists who oppress us." But if they do that, they'll be executed. Not in
Right.
the
It would
United
take the
States.
entire country, I think, at once to just stand up and say enough. But the country is, or China has just implemented so many different, means of control that it's virtually impossible now for one individual or a small number of individuals to rise up. Because they'll just be unpersoned and then sent off to some re-education camp or turned into Soylent Green or something. So, yeah, it's not exactly fun times over there. But yeah, the whole idea of vigilante, just when the law kind of it slips through the crack, justice slips through the cracks, and then you just get an everyday person that kind of seeks out vengeance. There's something really appealing about that, and like the Death Wish movies, the Bronson.
Exactly. And Dirty
I can
Harry.
watch that so many times. Yeah, Dirty Harry.
And for our modern age, the Equalizer movies, which I think are
Yes.
the greatest vigilante movies ever made.
Yeah, I really liked the first and second one. The third one was, not quite as strong as the first two, in my opinion. I don't know, but did you
Brilliant.
prefer the third one the best?
I think the first and the third are equally great. I thought the second was a little weak.
A little weak. Yeah, one thing's for sure though, Denzel, he nailed it in my opinion. Great actor. I think they did a really good job of picking him.
In the same vein of vigilante movies, you must see Man on Fire, which also stars Denzel.
Yes, I saw that one. Great movie. Let's see. And I was going to say, like, why did they vilify the Punisher? Was that just simply because the whole concept and the logo was adopted by
Well,
law
I'm
enforcement
gonna,
and
well,
military? Or?
those are just symptoms. I think the real reason is that the people who became the gatekeepers at Marvel are not really interested in entertainment.
Right.
They're interested in scolding, cajoling, lecturing, and they were embarrassed by the Punisher, who was so unapologetically violent against criminal elements. And because they had been taught to, and I'm talking about the editors and writers, that they had been taught to hate the police and the military, they were resentful of the fact that police and military adapted the symbol for themselves when it never meant let's just kill everybody in sight.
Right.
It meant justice. And
Yeah,
that's
just
why I created Private American to
and then they
show,
tried to vilify that. We were kind of
well, that, yeah,
talking about that on offline
they
for a moment.
attacked, and all they did was help me sell books. But folks, you can get Private American at baroncomics.com. You can get all my books there.
Yeah, let me bring that up real quick, and then we'll go back to Sherlock Holmes
All right.
because I do want to be mindful of your time. I really appreciate your time. Let me see, baroncomics.com. Let me go ahead and share this. And do you want me to go to the main page or here or the shop? We have the shop page
Yeah,
here.
that's good. I mean, people can
Okay.
see what we got there. There's Florida Man. I only got to mention one of the types of novels I write. The second one is humor, and that's Florida Man. There are three Florida Man novels, and by far my most popular novel.
I love Florida Man. It's hilarious,
Thank
especially
you.
being a gal, born and raised in Florida. I can relate to to the different shenanigans that occur in to Florida
And
Man.
Bronze Star was a huge hit too. That's a weird western, and that came about because I asked Pat Broderick, Pat, what do you want to draw? And he said, I want to draw a supernatural western, uh, and and so we did it, and it was just an overwhelming hit. We sold out. We had to go back to the printer, and he's working on a new one right now that's going to blow your mind.
I was going to ask you, do you have an artist that you've worked with over the years where no matter what you craft, they just seem to nail your vision for the character, the scene, or can you just is it pretty much any artist you?
Oh no, it's not any artist, but I have many artists whom
Mhm.
I'm happy to work with. Richard Bach is one of them. Pat Broderick is another. Kelsey Shannon, certainly. For 30
Yeah,
years, it was Steve Rude.
and does it happen often where you have to kind of communicate with the artist? This wasn't really what I had in mind, or is it they
Not
kind of
not
get what you're talking about?
not a whole lot, but it is a regular occurrence.
Yeah. It just is I always wondered like how much back and forth between the author, the writer and the artist to see that vision come to life, the process, how long it takes and if there's any frustrations involved and um just the whole process.
There are.
So yeah, definitely check out Mike Barron's. This is barroncomics.com. And all these great books that Mike's been talking about here, Private American, his take on, kind of you said Captain America a little bit, but and
Who, Private American?
in the Punisher. Yeah.
Well, Private American is the Punisher today if
Mhm.
I were writing him.
And then Thin Blue Line, which the SJWs really had a
They had
field
a
day.
fit about that one. It's just a story about two police officers trying to survive the night in a riot-torn city.
Yeah.
And it came about because politicians were calling for defunding the police, and it struck me as insane. And today it strikes most people as insane. And we've seen the results of those policy decisions. The government's number one obligation is to protect the safety and well-being of its citizens.
Right.
And when this thing took control of the country for a brief period, city after city went up in flames. Billions of dollars of merchandise and small businesses, many small businesses run by people who could least afford to lose them, and
Yeah.
hundreds of murders. And always there was some proud member of the lick spittle standing out front with a microphone saying, these are mostly peaceful protests. That's what I call the media. I call it the lick spittle because it really doesn't deserve to be called the media.
Right. Yeah, they're just what are they, Pravda now, essentially?
They're
You
on the
know.
run.
Yeah.
How could we be so wrong?
Yeah. Get a clue. I mean, more than half of America was like, disagreeing with
Yeah,
your
but
line of
to get
thinking.
back to Thin Blue Line, it's pure entertainment. It'll grab you by
Yeah.
the throat, and you read it, and it's just a great drama with fully realized characters. Did you read it?
That one I didn't get, but now that I'm seeing it up here on the site, I'm gonna have to pick up a copy. I got the Florida Man. I
I'm
got
not trying to sell books.
no.
Well, I am, but not to you. But I just saying I'm really proud of that one. And
Yeah.
and everybody who's read it has been knocked out. And then I started hearing from police officers all around the country that were saying, "Well, thanks for the positive message." Uh, and then I started hearing from police officers who'd written novels, and they all started sending their novels to me.
Oh goodness. Yeah. I imagine a lot of them have some crazy stories to
Oh yeah,
tell.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I hate that the police get vilified. There are definitely rotten eggs out there,
There
but
are bad cops. We all know there are bad cops.
You find good and bad people everywhere. And, sometimes people get a little bit of power and things go awry, but yeah, they're there to protect us. And even if you don't agree with what they're doing at the time, just be polite, don't explode and go nuts.
Right.
So many people put themselves in a situation where it's like
I know.
they might as well just put a big target on
I
themselves.
know. I know.
It's just crazy.
Thank you, Ale. Thank you, A Man Called P. Thank you, Dr. Mask.
Yeah, you have a lot of fans here in the chat, and that's why I definitely wanted to refer to you as legendary writer Mike Barron, because just the volume of works that you have crafted.
It's nothing. I thank you for saying that, but really my volume is not that great when you compare it to somebody like Chuck Dixon, who's the most prolific comic book writer of all time, or even the regular Marvel and DC stalwarts like Marv Wolfman and who was some other. Well, there are many writers who did a lot more than I did. But thank you anyway. What's surprising about me is that I'm having my best age right now.
That's great. Yeah, I love to hear it, and I just love to see the the different genres and everything that you tackle. I do see your brand of humor. It does come across in your writing, and I really do appreciate that. Let's go up here, and you shared this with me earlier. I wanted to let everyone know that, yes, indeed, Mike Barron's Sherlock Holmes Leviathan is officially loved by Kickstarter. So that was a great bit of news there. You got
it was, yeah.
From a site that I guess banned one of your other projects or booted one of your other projects.
They banned Private American,
Yeah.
thanks to the hysterics of a purple-haired lamprey who's never read anything I wrote. And, she recently surfaced on Reddit, which is a battleground for far lefties attacking me there. But all she had to do was show her face, and people, I don't know who these were. They just jumped right back on her saying, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. A lot of them don't. They just, jump to conclusions. I think it's the hair dye that, from when they do the things for hair.
It's just, ask not where the fault lies, dear Brutus. It lies not in the stars, but in ourselves. And that means that many of these people who are constantly parading and screaming and shaming and proclaiming and virtue signaling have howling voids in their own souls. But rather than look inward and try to heal themselves, they look outward and blame everyone and everything but the real source of their problem.
I like to call it fatherless behavior. And they needed to get daddy's belt, and they needed to be set straight. That's all I'm saying. Just a bunch of weirdos. Oh my goodness. But yeah, this is really great news. I like to see this, and it's nice to see something different from a fantasy novel. I mean, like the high fantasy with dragons or this or that. No offense, Jimmy Reyes. I'm just saying, just something different. We have so many superhero genres out there. So it's nice. It's a breath of fresh air to see Sherlock Holmes, a mystery story there. So that's what really kind of raised my eyebrow with this book here. And is there anything that you would like to point out about? Do you have a particular site that you like to push, like Kickstarter or Fund My Comic or your own site? Well, I think your own site refers to everybody to either Fund My Comic, Indiegogo.
Yes, we don't care what page you use to back us.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is that I promise you an unforgettable read that will keep you enthralled from the first page to the last. You'll talk about it, you'll read it over and over again, and you'll tell your friends about it.
Yeah, it's like I said, the trailer alone Just do you mind if we play that again for the people
No,
that joined?
what's going
I want
on?
to play. It's great. I want to share that again with everybody. Let me go ahead and begin this. And
When a series of shipping disasters points to a mysterious sea monster, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson leave the comfort of Baker Street and board a freighter where they encounter unexpected betrayal and come face to face with the enigmatic Captain Nemo and his submarine, the Nautilus. As they delve deeper into the case, they uncover a conspiracy involving a Russian Tsar with an airship that rains destruction on unsuspecting cities. With time running out and the world on the brink of war, the heroes must use all their skills and resources to stop a massive conspiracy and prevent global conflict. From Eisner-winning writer Mike Barron and illustrator Richard Bonk, dive into the depths of adventure and unravel the mysteries of the sea with the world's greatest detective in Leviathan. Order now on Kickstarter.
yeah, that's so awesome. Let me go ahead and there we go. So yeah, everyone, please consider backing here. Again, you have the 3 different options: Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Fund My Comic. And let's see, you have different. Let me see. Does this one show the different tiers and everything here? The rewards.
No, the tiers you'll find on the Indiegogo page.
Okay, let me go ahead and do it that way. Okay, so you have the digital version, which I like when creators offer this for our overseas fans.
Me too.
Because I mean, they get brutalized with the shipping fees and everything.
Yeah,
So
ridiculous.
it just allows the Europeans, Australians a chance to appreciate the good stories, which you should check it out there. The soft cover, I've really enjoyed your hardcover books. They're just, the quality has been really good. I picked up.
Are you referring to Bronze Star?
Yes.
Yeah, that Pat's art demanded that.
It's just gorgeous. And the autographed hardcover, is that going to be autographed by you and
Richard?
Yep. Okay, awesome. So that's a good treat there. And so the 2 different cover options, soft cover A and B. I really like the artwork for cover A. That kind of just screams kind of a classic kind of novel, almost like one of the, if you went to Barnes and Noble and you got the, one of collected works of the literary classics, that looks like what they would have on there. So this is the one I'm kind of eyeing here. Probably gonna have to pick that one up. Sherlock for the Troops. And the retailer bundle. I like that creators are offering this, so you can get it into the comic shops, and you never know if just somebody coming in off the street will stumble across your work. So that's really nice that you have that. Then you can get a little bit of everything there: the soft covers, the hardcover, and also the digital. So that's pretty great. And these are all shipping relatively soon, March of next year. So. Yeah. I find that time.
The book is done.
Yeah, even the coloring, because
the coloring and lettering have yet to be done, but the book is fully illustrated.
Okay, and it was 76 pages?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I mean, that's definitely a great value. And March, that's hardly any time. That's like a blink of an eye, and it'll be here. God, it just seems like only yesterday I was waving the flag at 4th of July, and now I'm going to be decorating the Christmas tree here shortly. So kind of a funny thing that happens as we get older, Mike. I
know.
It's like, where does the time go? It is a very strange thing. And then, of course, original art, which is awesome. The art in this book is just outstanding. So
where do you, I wish I could tell you what our next project is, but right now, we're just we know what it's going to be, but nothing is written yet.
When you were talking about, well, in the trailer, when it talks about the Russians and everything, I was like, it'd be interesting to have kind of a Rasputin novel or something. I'd love to see your take on Rasputin.
Shh. He shows up in the Badger.
Really? That was a series I missed because I'm still a new fledgling comic book reader. So, yeah, I missed your old Badger series. Uh,
I'll see if I can find that issue. I'll send it to you.
that's awesome. Yeah. Do they have collections like your collected?
I think so. It came out from First about 7 or 8 years ago,
Nice.
and I think it was called the Five Wizards.
And he meets Rasputin.
Yeah, Rasputin's in it. He's one of the Five Wizards.
Nice. Just the story of Rasputin, the whole thing, and then with the family, the czar there. That's just so. I mean, it just seems like a story right there. Everything's just ripe for a story.
It is an outrageous story, but it's true.
Like only in Russia. Whose picture is this? That's
Where?
drawn in, appear in the story. It's not showing there. Let me see. I wasn't even sharing the right thing. There we go. The where it says drawn in, appear in the story for 1,000, and it has a photograph there.
Oh, geez, I can't tell.
It's hilarious.
I'll have to go look. I'm not sure if none have been claimed, so it's nobody yet.
Well, I like that picture of that stock photo there. I think that's kind of funny. But
It looks like a 1950s TV host.
yeah, exactly. At first, I thought it was Dick Van Dyke for a second, but then I was like,
Dick Van Dyke is still with us.
Yeah. Oh my God, how old is he now?
96 or so.
Amazing. And then he could still sing and harmonize and everything. I'd be grateful to have just the talent in his big right toe,
I gotta write this down. HBO movie about Rasputin.
There's an HBO movie about Rasputin.
That's what Crazy Cat says.
Let's see. Let me see. Great HBO movie about Rasputin where I believe Alan Rickman plays him. Been a while. Don't quote
Perfect.
me. Alan Rickman as Rasputin. Now that would be an interesting movie. I'll have to check that out. Thank you, Crazy Cat. I appreciate it. Oh, is this true? That makes me sad.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Well, God bless him anyway. Maybe he'll come to his senses before he leaves this mortal coil behind. But I don't know. We can only hope. So let's see. Anything else that you would like to share? I feel like there's a million questions I could ask you, and so many questions, so little time. And I do want to be, of course, mindful of your time. You're so gracious to spend the time. And
Thank you, Abra. I'm only good for about an hour.
Yeah, it's the witching hour is upon us, as they say. So,
well, I say this: if you want to be an artist or a writer, or even if you don't, you should carry a pen and a pad with you at all times. Why? To write things down so that you'll remember them and so that you'll have a record of them. If you put it in your phone and the Chinese launch their giant electromagnetic pulse, it will be gone forever.
I shudder to think what would happen to this country in 1 hour if all of our electronic devices went down. Panic. It reminds me of an old SNL skit where you had, I think it was Will Ferrell, and I forget, I don't know, it might have been Sherry O'Terry, but they were supposed to be almost like the Good Morning America type, and the teleprompter goes off, and then they turn into savage beasts and start burning down the set because they don't know how to react without the teleprompter. So I feel like much of America would just fall apart if we didn't have our stupid little black mirrors, to to tell us what to do. But yeah, the stories, the work that you do, it's something that will continue to endure long after we're all gone. And I think there's something really neat about having your work published, and it's almost like a little bit of immortality in a way. And yeah, I just think that's really great. And in some form or another, you're leaving your mark on the world, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Thank you, Abra.
And so yeah, again, I just want to say thank you so much. You are a wonderful, gracious artist. You know, your writing and everything is just touched many, as you could see in the chat. Everyone's just been singing your praises, and yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the Sherlock Holmes book, and I really hope that you guys will back it. Mike doesn't disappoint, and you know, just check out one of his stories, and I think he will definitely hook you there. And I wanted to say thank you to everyone in the chat for stopping by. You guys always make the show great. I appreciate it. It warms my heart. And yeah, Katie did says, hail to the legend Mike Barron, for sure.
Thank you, Katie did.
And we look forward to seeing you again. And I look forward to seeing all of you on another stream. And till next time, everyone, take care. Bye.
50 sets off of me. I've had enough. Get the hell out of my house. In Jesus' name, I pray.